You have been told your mind is your greatest ally. But what if I told you it is also your most cunning saboteur? The very power that built empires and fortunes can just as easily dig graves for your ambition. Here's the paradox. Your thoughts are not always your friends. Sometimes the enemy wears your face, whispers in your voice, and makes its home behind your eyes. Most men hunt for obstacles in the world. Few ever suspect that the fiercest battles are waged on the private battlefield of the mind. It is a curious irony how quickly we defend our homes from intruders, yet leave the doors of our consciousness flung open to thieves of hope and vandals of peace. But I promise you this, every negative thought, every whispered doubt, every shadow that haunts your inner corridors can be hunted, cornered, and destroyed. The first step is daring to see the enemy within. The next is learning the tools of its destruction. This book will not merely hand you hope, it will arm you for war. Are you willing to question the very thoughts you have trusted most? If so, the victory begins now. The enemy in the mirror. There is an enemy that no weapon can kill. It lives beneath the skin, whispering doubts with your own voice, awakening every morning as you do. Most people move through life blaming circumstances for their misery, never pausing to consider that the true war was never out in the world. It has always been within. You convince yourself that your hardships are born from what others said, from what you were denied, from what you have lost. Layer by layer, you construct a fortress of excuses, stacking reasons and regrets until you're boxed in by your own resentment. The real poison, though, is not the world outside. It's the voice inside your head. That voice, that tireless whisper, tells you that you are not enough, recoils before every challenge, and turns discomfort into a well-rehearsed pity. It breathes life into old wounds, replaying pain until you start to defend it as if it were a part of you. You come to believe that the voice is you, but it's not. It is a parasite, growing stronger every time you obey, every time you let it steer you into weakness. You were not born with this voice. It was crafted through years of fear, shame, and emotional laziness. It survives by feeding on your reactions, but it dies the moment you become aware of it. Look in the mirror. Who do you see? Is it the builder or the destroyer? It cannot be both. Negative thought is not just an inconvenience, it is a silent assassin, patient and precise. It waits for you to slip, turns fleeting moments into spirals of anxiety, and digs holes out of discomfort, burying your best self beneath the weight of hesitation. Yet, most defend their inner poison. It's just how I am, they say, as if suffering were a virtue or chaos a sign of authenticity. There is nothing noble about being ruled by what hurts you. There is no honor in staying at war with your own mind. The real truth is harsher. You are the one keeping yourself weak, the one offering shelter to the enemy within. This is not another soft encouragement. This is a confrontation. You say you want peace? Then you must declare war not on the world, not on them, but on the part of you that clings to pain as if it were air. Until you kill that part, you will remain its slave. Every negative thought begins as a whisper. Unchecked, it becomes a command. Obeyed, it hardens into your character. The way you speak to yourself becomes the way you treat the world. That in turn becomes how the world sees you. And finally, how you see yourself, a loop forged in silence. It starts with one thought, I can't. They don't care. This always happens to me. Each one, small as it seems, is a match struck in a forest. You wonder why your world keeps burning. Your rebellion begins by refusing to believe every thought you think. Not all thoughts are true, or helpful, or even yours. You are the observer, not the thought. And the observer has the power to choose. Reality does not destroy most people, their interpretation does. The rain falls on everyone, but one man curses the sky while another is grateful for the harvest it brings. The same world, a different mind. You do not have negative thoughts. You practice them. Perfect them until doubt and hesitation become second nature. But this is the moment to change. There will be no applause, no audience, just you and a decision. No longer obey the voice that weakens you. Strength begins in the mind. When you kill your first thought before it kills you, you will stumble. That's fine. Fall forward, bleed forward, but always move forward. Every stronger thought you choose lays a new foundation, and as you build your mind, you build your life. Starve the enemy, confront it, replace it. Kill your negative thoughts before they kill you. The first battle is always within. You want to conquer your life. You talk about new beginnings, about taking command, about building something unbreakable. But before any conquest, you must face the only battlefield that matters. The one inside your own skull. People dream of changing the world, building empires, reshaping destiny, leaving a mark that outlives their name. Yet in all their ambition, most never learn to do the simplest, hardest thing, to hold a single thought still. They chase victory on distant fronts, while surrendering every day in the silence of their own mind. You say you want strength, then you must understand the true source of power. Real strength is not measured by the noise you make or the battles you fight in the open. It comes from the mind that refuses to panic, from the soul that stands calm while storms roar and the world spins out of control. It comes from the discipline to sit in silence, unmoved, watching thoughts come and go without leaping after every one. That is the mind of a true warrior. But your mind has been left untended for too long. You've allowed it to run wild, wandering into dark corners, dragging old memories across fresh wounds, pulling your attention into traps you laid for yourself. No one did this to you. You did it by letting your mind act without order, without discipline, without command. Your thoughts are like wild horses, powerful but chaotic, trampling everything in their path if left untrained. You wouldn't let a wild animal run loose through your home, yet every day you let unchallenged thoughts stampede through your life. Every mistake you've made started with a thought you never questioned. Every fear you fed grew because you let it speak unopposed. Every spiral you entered began with a single moment of mental weakness, a thought you accepted as gospel because it was loud, because it was familiar. You blame the world for its harshness, for its obstacles, for the scars it gives. But look closer. The harshest wounds are the ones you give yourself, with thoughts you never stop to confront. Most people spend their lives fighting shadows outside them, never realizing the real war is against the shadows within the ones that whisper, "You can't, you're not ready, you're not worthy, you will fail." These thoughts survive because you have never challenged them. You believe them without evidence. You let them speak as if they were truth, when in reality they are nothing but noise. And noise only has power over those who never learned the art of silence. The first battle is always internal. The world outside is nothing compared to the world you haven't faced within. So today, stop running, turn and face it. Pick one thought, just one that has ruled you for too long. Drag it into the light, question it, dissect it. What evidence supports it? Where did it come from? Whose voice does it really resemble? Does it strengthen you? Or does it make you smaller, weaker, quieter? If it weakens you, it has no right to live in your mind. Do not let it stay. Kill it. Not with blind positivity, but with ruthless clarity. Strength is clarity. Fear is confusion. Choose clarity. Win the first battle within, and you'll find the rest of life's battles out there, and the noise and chaos are already half won. Because the world cannot break a mind that has already conquered itself. Let this be the day you begin. Let this be the moment you finally claim command. The rest will fall. The art of observing your own mind. Most people don't think not in the true sense of the word. They do not question, do not examine, do not pause to wonder where a thought comes from or where it leads. They are pulled from one emotion to the next, like prisoners in chains being led through a dungeon they never built, but now call home. You ask them, "Why are you worried?" And they shrug, "I don't know." You ask, "Why are you angry?" And they mutter, "It just happened." But anger does not just happen. Fear does not just appear. Doubt does not just show up. These are not weather patterns moving across an empty sky. They are all reactions, and reactions, whether you know it or not, are choices. The problem is almost laughably simple. You have never learned to watch yourself think. No one taught you that you are not the storm, you are the sky. There is an ancient strength in observing the mind without becoming it. When you learn to observe, you create distance between the noise and your true self. That distance is where all your power lives. A man who observes his anger cannot be owned by it. He feels the flame, but does not set the world ablaze. A man who observes his fear cannot be ruled by it. He feels the chill, but does not freeze. A man who observes his thoughts becomes greater than the thoughts themselves. He sees them for what they are passing, insubstantial, powerless, without permission. Most people live inside their emotions, moving through life as if every feeling is a command to obey. But you can learn to live outside your emotions. You can choose to step back from the hurricane and become the mountain it cannot move. Imagine this, sitting across from your own mind, quietly watching every thought that drifts by. Each one is like a cloud passing a mountain. The clouds are always moving, always changing, but the mountain remains unmoved, unmoved and unmoving. Your mind can be that mountain. The practice is simple, but not easy. Sit in silence. Do not seek to stop your thoughts, only to listen without reaction. You will hear a great deal. Old fears still echoing from your childhood. Borrowed beliefs handed down like old clothes. Insecurities that never grew up. Catastrophes invented by an imagination that's too restless for its own good. Let them all speak. Let them show themselves for what they are. You will find that most of them are weak, brittle, and foolish when held up to the light. A thought is only dangerous when you believe it blindly. It is only poison when you drink it without question. Stand outside yourself. Watch, observe, learn. Detach. In that state, the relentless chatter of the mind loses its teeth. You realize that not every thought is an order. Not every emotion is a truth. Some are nothing but echoes, and you are free to let them fade. This is how you begin to master the storm within, not by force, not by willpower, but by awareness. The one who observes himself cannot be destroyed by himself, because he understands that thoughts are only visitors, passing clouds in a sky that cannot be broken. So practice the art of observation. Practice becoming the watcher, not the captive. For it is only by standing outside the storm that you will discover just how unshakable you truly are. And in that silence, you will find the strength that chaos could never offer. The winter of the mind. There comes a moment in every life when the mind freezes. Hope dims, the weight of the world settles on your shoulders, and everything within turns cold and silent. This is the winter of the mind, the season most people dread, the darkness they do anything to escape. Most run from it. They fill their days with distraction, numbness, noise, anything to avoid sitting alone with their thoughts in the silent chill. They fear the cold because, in the absence of noise and masks, only the truth remains. There's no hiding in winter. There is only what's real. But those who endure the winter, who face it without flinching, grow. Winter is not a punishment handed down for weakness. Winter is a purification. It strips away what is dead and false, revealing the underlying structure, testing what you are really made of. In these cold months of the soul, When the darkness presses in and old wounds begin to ache, you are not witnessing your failure. You are witnessing your transformation. Growth has never been gentle. It does not come in comfort. Growth burns. It breaks you down and freezes the parts of you that were never meant to survive. It is in tension, in discomfort, in darkness that the soul is reshaped. That is winter's gift, the opportunity to stand alone with your weakest thoughts, to look them in the eye and ask, are you strong enough to survive this cold? Most of your negative thoughts will not make it. They cannot survive a mind that refuses to feed them, a soul that refuses to obey them. Fear withers in the presence of confrontation. Doubt disappears when you keep moving, one step at a time, through the frost. And so, when you endure the winter, when you let it have its way with you, not fighting, not fleeing, but accepting and observing you change, you emerge stronger, sharper, quieter, more disciplined than before. The world that once overwhelmed you seems smaller. The problems that once froze you in place no longer have teeth. You become someone the old you could never recognize, a version built from struggle, shaped by darkness, cleansed by the cold. So, when your mind grows cold, don't run. Don't reach for noise. Don't beg for the return of easy comfort. Stand still. Let the winter shape you. Let it burn away the weak and the useless. Let it strip you down to what matters. Because the mind that survives the winter is the mind that owns the spring. All new beginnings are born from an ending, and all true strength is forged in cold seasons when you chose not to run, but to endure. Remember, no season lasts forever. The cold will pass, the silence will lift, and when it does, you will not be who you were. You will be something new, something unbreakable, grown in the winter, ready for the spring. The poison of unguarded thoughts. Every mind carries its own poison, not the kind that ends a life in an instant, but the kind that kills what you might have become. This poison is rarely dramatic. It moves quietly, seeps in through a careless complaint, a lingering resentment, an old memory you refuse to bury, a fear you nurture like a prized possession. At first, you hardly notice it. It is a shadow at the edge of the room, a faint bitterness beneath the surface. But it grows, drop by drop, until one day you wake and realize that everything is heavier. Your steps, your choices, your words, your plans. This is the true weight of poison, not pain but exhaustion. Your simplest tasks become battles. Every conversation is threaded with hesitation. Every decision feels as though it requires more strength than you possess. The hours slip by, and the energy you lose to poisoned thoughts never returns. A single unguarded negative thought is enough to infect an entire day, a week, a life. And here is the hardest truth to swallow. You are the one who opened the door. You let the poison in. Most people never realize they are the gatekeeper of their own mind. They go through life as if their mind were a public square, letting anything wander in insults, doubts, comparisons, old failures. They allow the world to plant weeds where there should be only the seeds they choose. They forget that the mind is not meant to be an open field, but a fortress. A warrior guards his gates. A builder defends his foundation. But most people, never taught to be vigilant, leave their gates wide open. They allow old grudges, small humiliations, even the careless opinions of strangers to take root and grow into thorns. And over time, those thorns choke the mind, making what should be easy feel impossible. If you want to reclaim your strength, you must become a sentinel at the gates of your own mind. Close the doors, lock them, stand watch. Not every thought deserves to enter. Not every memory deserves a home in your heart. Not every emotion deserves to command your actions. For every thought that arrives, demand it answer the only question that matters. Do you strengthen me or do you weaken me? If a thought makes you smaller, if it poisons your hope or clouds your judgment, it is not an ally, it is poison. And you have the power to spit it out, to refuse it, to cast it out and replace it with something clean. You do not owe every memory your loyalty. You do not owe every feeling your attention. You do not have to drink from every cup handed to you, especially if it is laced with the bitterness of yesterday. A disciplined mind is not cruel, but it is ruthless. It knows that weakness is not a visitor to be entertained, but a threat to be expelled. Every thought, every belief, every whisper of doubt must pass through a single law. If it does not build me, it dies. Let this be your new vigilance. Stand guard over your mind the way you would guard your life, because, in truth, the mind is your life. Kill the poison before it kills your purpose. Refuse to let weakness set up camp in your head. The world will try to feed you its poison every day. It is up to you to refuse the cup. A disciplined mind is a fortress, and a fortress cannot fall from within. The weight you choose to carry, most of the burden you feel, isn't the world pressing down on your shoulders. It isn't the demands of life or the cruelty of fate. The true weight you carry is invisible to others, a heaviness made not of circumstance, but of the thoughts you insist on hauling with you day after day. You carry memories that should have been buried long ago, dragging them behind you like chains, letting them rattle in your quiet moments. You hold on to judgments that were never really yours, criticisms absorbed from others, opinions handed to you by people who never understood you, rules you never chose for yourself. You clutch anger that belongs to a past you can never change, replaying old wounds as if the pain might one day transform into something useful. You shoulder expectations so heavy, so suffocating, that you sometimes forget to breathe. None of this weight is natural. It didn't fall from the sky. You chose it, even if you chose it unconsciously. The mind is built to cling. It grabs hold of anything familiar, whether it is pain or comfort, because familiarity feels safe, even if it is slowly killing you. Pain, at least, is predictable. The mind finds a strange security in replaying old injuries, rehearsing imagined futures, carrying burdens that don't belong. But don't mistake this clinging for strength. Familiarity is not resilience. Comfort is not freedom. True strength isn't about carrying every burden you find. It's about knowing what to release. Do you want deeper peace? Build clearer thoughts. Thoughts that cut through confusion and shine a light through the fog. Peace is not found by escaping the world, but by refusing to let the world dictate the weather inside your own mind. Do you want unshakable discipline? Construct commanding thoughts, thoughts that stand firm when temptation whispers, that recall your reasons when fatigue shouts. Discipline is not a talent. It is the result of inner architecture designed on purpose. Your thoughts lead, your life follows. This is the truth most people never see. They live as tenants in a house they never realized they were building, forever rearranging the furniture while the foundation crumbles. But here is the revelation, the liberating secret hidden in plain sight. You can redesign your mind. You can tear down old mental architecture, strip out the rotten beams of limiting beliefs, rip away the wallpaper of past regrets. You can return to the foundation and rebuild, stronger, truer, higher. You can choose, with clarity and intention, which thoughts are allowed to survive and which must burn in the fire of renewal. This is the true meaning of inner power, not to control the external world, but to become the master builder of your own internal one. Thought by thought, brick by brick, choice by choice. Become the architect of your own mind. And when you do, your life will have no choice but to rise one deliberate layer at a time into something unshakable, undeniable, and fully your own. The silence that saves you. But it is not the noise of the world that inflicts the deepest wounds. It is not the chaos of cities, nor the constant drone of voices, nor the clamor of demands from outside. No. The most dangerous noise is internal, the relentless storm within. This is the noise that never lets up, the endless chatter that races through your head from morning until sleep, the imaginary arguments you rehearse with ghosts from your past, the replayed conversations that loop, word for word, dissecting every syllable until it becomes a blade, the invented catastrophes that fill your future with shadows that may never arrive, the echo of every failure, never quite fading, always reminding, the low, constant hum of every insecurity whispering that you are not enough, not ready, not worthy. Most people stagger through their days, convinced they are exhausted by life. They blame their tiredness on the burdens of work, of obligation, of expectation. But the real fatigue is not of the body. It is not even of the spirit. They are tired because their mind is too loud, because they have never learned to quiet the relentless noise within. Your mind is not weary from effort. It is weary from never knowing silence. It is exhausted not because you work too hard, but because your thoughts never leave you in peace. The machinery of your mind runs day and night, fueled by old worries, unspoken fears, unresolved regret. But there is another way. There is a silence that heals not by erasing thought, but by bringing clarity. This silence is not emptiness. It is a sharpening of your inner vision. It is not withdrawal. It is the source of strength that comes when the fog finally lifts. You must learn to seek this silence with the hunger of a starving man searching for bread. It cannot be a luxury, an afterthought, a retreat only for when chaos grows unbearable. It must become a ritual sought daily, chosen deliberately, cherished with reverence. Sit without distraction. Turn off the world's noise, the screens, the voices, the endless scrolling. Sit without comfort. Let yourself feel the itch, the restlessness, the urge to move. Sit without movement. Let the body grow still, so the mind can finally settle. And in that stillness, you will begin to hear what is miraculous, what is real, what has been lost beneath the roar. Your true thoughts, no longer tangled in anxiety or dressed in someone else's voice. Your authentic voice, quiet but unwavering, clear as water. Your real direction, not a reaction to fear, but a compass pointing unerringly to what matters. Noise is born of fear. The mind makes noise because it is afraid of what it might find in the silence, afraid of pain, of the unknown, of itself. But silence is born of mastery. It is the evidence of a mind that is no longer ruled by fear, but by presence, intention, and calm. A man who can sit with himself in silence is a man who has built an unbreakable core. He cannot be shattered by the opinions of others, cannot be driven to panic by the noise outside, cannot be swayed from his purpose by the storms of circumstance. Make silence your daily ritual. Let it be your anchor when life sways, your refuge when the world overwhelms, your wellspring when your spirit feels thin. Return to it again and again, not as an escape, but as a reset, a place where your mind can realign, your purpose can clarify, your spirit can find new strength. In the heart of silence, the strongest version of you is born. And from that place, you can face the world not as a victim of noise, but as its master. The power of not reacting. Reaction is the invisible chain of the weak. It is the leash subtle but unyielding, that yanks you into conflicts not meant for you, into storms you never needed to enter, and into emotions that were never yours to carry. To live by reaction is to surrender your freedom. It is to move at the world's command instead of your own, to be pulled in 100 directions by 100 different hands, never realizing that the greatest prison is forged not of iron, but of your own reflex. Look around, see the evidence everywhere. The man who reacts to everything is ruled by everything. He is tossed about by every insult, every shifting circumstance, every shadow of doubt that crosses his mind. His emotions rise and fall like the tide, controlled by the gravitational pull of other people's moods and the chaos of unpredictable events. Why do people provoke you? Because they sense you will respond. Why do circumstances shake you? Because you have shown them you will tremble. Why do unwanted thoughts return again and again? Because you have trained them to expect your obedience. But there is a secret waiting in plain sight. When you stop reacting, the world loses its power over you. When you cease to flinch, to bark, to bite, to explain, to defend, you become a mystery the world cannot unravel. The one who does not react is the one who cannot be manipulated, cannot be provoked, cannot be dominated. He becomes untouchable not because nothing touches him, but because nothing decides for him. Imagine this. Something happens, an insult, an inconvenience, a moment of chaos. Most people jump immediate, unthinking, a slave to the first surge of emotion. But not you. You have learned to pause. You let the first wave crash into you, but you do not move. You feel its force, acknowledge its presence, but you do not allow it to sweep you away. The emotion rises, fierce and demanding, but you simply watch. You do not act. You do not justify. You do not retaliate. You wait. It is in this pause that true strength lives. Because your first reaction always is weakness. It is the child within you who wants to defend, to lash out, to hide, to prove. Your first reaction is the echo of old wounds, old stories, old survival instincts that no longer serve you. But your second reaction, the one that comes after the storm has passed, is almost always wisdom. There is a space between what happens to you and how you respond, a hidden kingdom most never discover. In that space lies your discipline, your clarity, your real power. That space is where you are no longer a victim of the world, but a creator within it. Master the pause. Master the distance between the spark and the flame. Master the silence that arrives after emotion, but before action. Make it your practice to delay, to breathe, to hold back not out of fear, but out of the knowledge that your power grows in stillness. If you can refuse your first reaction, you open the door to transformation. You gain the ability to choose your next move instead of being chosen by it. You begin to rewrite the script of your life, one pause at a time, until you are no longer chained to reflex, but freed by intention. This is not passivity, it is mastery. It is the rarest kind of strength, and it belongs to those willing to sit in the fire of their own emotion and wait for the wisdom that comes after. In this discipline, in this kingdom between stimulus and response, you become unshakable, and in becoming unshakable, you finally become free. The slow death of self-doubt. Self-doubt is rarely a single decisive blow. It does not arrive with fanfare or devastation. Instead, it is erosion, a slow, persistent wearing away of your potential day after day. Not enough to destroy you in one cruel instant, just enough to sap your strength, to thin your resolve, to keep you from ever becoming the person you sense you might be. It does not announce itself as an enemy. It does not roar or threaten. It whispers. It hides in the background, barely noticed, but always present. Self-doubt is cunning. It does not shout commands, but plants questions like seeds in the soil of your mind. Are you sure you can do this? What if you fail? What if they laugh? What if they judge? What if you're not ready? What if you never will be? These questions feel harmless at first, almost reasonable, just the voice of caution or wisdom or humility. But left unchecked, they become the slow drip that hollows out a mountain. One by one, day by day, they carve away at your confidence until eventually you find yourself not a strong, unbroken self, but a hollowed shell, uncertain, hesitant, defined more by the limits you accept than by the dreams you pursue. The truth is, self-doubt only survives because you feed it. You don't realize you are nurturing it every time you pause to answer its questions. Every time you rehearse your excuses, every time you negotiate with your fears and plead your case before a voice that does not want your victory. You try to explain yourself to the very thing that wants you to crawl. But self-doubt cannot survive where there is certainty. Not the loud certainty of arrogance or bluster, the quiet, unshakable certainty that lives beneath words, that stands even when no one is watching. It is the certainty that breathes easily, that does not need to be shouted, that does not require applause or permission. It is the certainty that exists simply because you have chosen it. Certainty, you see, is not a feeling that arrives when you have solved every problem and erased every fear. It is a decision to act even when the questions still echo, even when the fear still lingers. It is the commitment to move forward, not because you are unafraid, but because you refuse to let fear have the final word. You kill self-doubt not by trying to feel confident, but by acting in spite of your fear. You take a step, and then another, and with every act of courage, the voice of doubt grows weaker. You do not need to shout down your doubts. You simply need to leave them behind, unanswered and unacknowledged. Fear fades in motion. Doubt dies in discipline. Every time you choose action over hesitation, you cut self-doubt at the root. Every day you show up, you do the work, you persist without apology or explanation, you are draining the poison from your system, strengthening the muscle of self-belief. You must let self-doubt die, not with drama or ceremony, but with steady, relentless resolve. Do not pity it. Do not argue with it. Let it wither in the coal of your indifference. Let it starve for your attention, your explanations, your apologies. For in the quiet death of self-doubt, something new and unbreakable is born. Self-dominion, the authority over your own mind. The power to decide, to act, to become without permission, without apology. And in that birth, you claim your freedom, you claim your life. The fire you refuse to feed. There is a fire inside you. It is not the gentle fire that brings comfort to cold hands or lights the darkness in your room. No, this is the fire that burns from within, a furnace behind your ribs that devours peace and leaves only smoke. It is the kind of fire that does not warm, but scorches, the kind that turns thoughts into ash and hope into dust. It is not always roaring, but it never truly sleeps. It waits in silence, in shadows, patient and hungry. This fire wears many faces. Sometimes it is anger, a flash in your chest, a tightening in your jaw, the taste of old words you never spoke. Sometimes it is resentment, thick and heavy, growing in the corners of your mind like black mold. Sometimes it is the sharp hunger for revenge, the ache to balance the scales, to make them feel what you felt. Other times it is simply the stubborn demand to be seen, to be recognized as right, to be vindicated at last. And every time you replay the insult, every time you rehearse the betrayal, every time you tell the story of how you were wronged, you throw another log on that fire. Every mental courtroom, every private argument, every fantasy of payback fuel for the flames that burn only you. But pause and ask yourself, what has that fire built? What have the long nights of anger created except exhaustion? What have the bitter days of remembering really constructed, except walls that keep the world out and loneliness in? What have grudges grown, except weeds that choke your soul and rob your spirit of sunlight? We are taught somehow that holding on is strength, that refusing to let go is how we stay unbroken. But it is a lie. Holding on is not strength. Letting go is. It is easy to feed the fire. It is easy to tell the story again and again until the pain becomes familiar and the anger feels like home. True strength is refusing to let your mind become a shrine for your past wounds. Refuse to be the priest of your own pain, spending your energy tending altars to memories that deserve to be forgotten. Refuse to offer your future on the altar of your old wounds. There is no honor in being consumed, no glory in allowing your life to be ruled by the embers of yesterday. The fire inside you survives on your attention. It grows each time you tend it. So starve it. Deny it the fuel of your focus. Let it go cold and dark, not through denial, not by pretending you never hurt, or that the pain was never real, but through discipline. Discipline that says, I will not light what I cannot control. I will not rehearse pain that no longer serves me. I will not argue with ghosts that have already vanished into the night. The fire is clever. It will dress itself in the robes of purpose, convincing you that your anger is noble, your pain righteous, your suffering meaningful. It will say, don't you want justice? Don't you deserve to be heard? But what it really wants is your destruction, one small, slow burn at a time. Let them think they have won. Let them misunderstand you, misjudge you, talk about you. Your mind is not a courtroom. Your peace does not require a verdict. You kill the fire not with water, but with absence, with refusal, with silence. And when you finally step away, when you let the flames starve and the smoke clear, what you feel is not merely relief, but something far greater,